For this project, you are going to need bulky yarn, and this is 2 of Wands Hue and Me in the color Toast. And then we are also using a K or 10.5, 10.5 millimeter hook. To get started crocheting the size medium in this sweater, we're going to start by creating a slip knot and chaining 44 stitches. (41, 42, 43, 44). Once you're done with your starting chain, you're going to want to be very careful to not have it twisted. So here I have mine laying flat. And then you simply need to slip stitch in the beginning of your chain to close your neckline. Okay, now getting into crocheting round 1, we're going to have 3 stitches in between every increase. So to start off, we're just going to chain 2, and this does count as a stitch. And then we're going to go in and double crochet 2. So this creates our first set of 3 individual stitches. And then next is our first increase. And our increase is simply putting 2 double crochets into the same chain stitch, or the same stitch in general as we get into the other rounds. But now that we've done this the first time, the repeat is very, very simple. You're just going to double crochet 3, 1, 2, 3, and then do an increase. And repeat this all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Okay, we're all the way around round 1. You should end on a decrease actually, and then to finish round 1, we are just going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 2. And now round 2 starts with a chain 2, and this is not an increasing row, so you are just going to double crochet in every stitch. And from round 1, our total stitches for this size should be 55, and so we will stay with the same stitch count for round 2. All right, we are all done with round 2 with the exception of connecting it. And again, we're just going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 2. This is how we're going to put together every round. And moving right on into round 3, we're going to chain 2. And then we are going to double crochet 3 before our increase. We're going to have 4 stitches between our increases here, and the chain 2 counts for one of those. So chain 2, 3 double crochets, then an increase, doing the same type of increases throughout this entire sweater. And then our repeat here is to double crochet 4 and do another increase, and we're going to repeat that all the way around round 3, and again finish with a slip stitch. Here round 3 is finished, and for the size medium at this point you should have 66 stitches. Round 4 is going to be just like round 2. We're chaining 2, and then we are going to double crochet into every stitch all the way around and slip stitching to finish it when you're done. Okay, here we are done with round 4 and headed into round 5. So we're starting to see a nice sloped shape for the shoulders. And before I start round 5, I just wanted to show you that if you do not like the visible almost seam you can see here where you're joining your rows, one very easy thing that you can do is to slip stitch and start on 1 or 2 stitches over and stagger where your joins are going. So now if I start here with round 5, it will break up this pattern a little bit and make the seam in the back less noticeable if that's something that matters to you. And since we don't have any kind of color work pattern or anything in this sweater, you can do this very easily without really affecting anything else. So I'm just going to leave it here. And moving into round 5, we are going to increase in this round, and it's very similar to before. We are simply increasing the number of stitches in between each increase. So start with our chain 2, and now I'm going to double crochet 4. And 4. Once you do your first increase, you're going to do a repeat of double crochet 5 stitches and then putting another increase. Just like this. Here's our second increase for this round. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then another increase. That's what you're going to repeat all the way around this round. You should end with an increase again and slip stitch. And then the next round after that, round 6, is another round of simple double crochet stitches with no increases. So I'm going to see you back after rounds 5 and 6. Okay, everybody, so now we are all the way through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. 6 again was just a round of double crochet. And I've actually started round 7. So in round 7, we continue very much the same way as we've been going. We need to chain 2 and then double crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then here is an increase. And the repeat for this round is to double crochet 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then put an increase. And so that's what I'm going to continue doing all the way around this round. And then round 8 again is going to be a round like before with 6 in all of our even numbered rounds, where we just double crochet into each round with a chain 2 at the beginning and a slip stitch at the end. So I will see you again once we get through that. Now we are at row 13, and row 13 is pretty fun because this is where we get to, for this size, this is where we get to separate the arms from the body of the sweater. So we're at the end of the yoke and we're moving into the body and the sleeve portion. And this row is pivotal for that. So we're going to get started by chaining 2, and I've decided that the seam of the sweater, where we go from one row to the next, and you might be able to see that, that's going to be in the center of the back. So for this size, you're going to start by double crocheting 17 stitches. Okay, so after this first set of stitches from the back, we're going to add on some stitches and separate our first arm sleeve hole. Okay, so to do this, for this size, we're going to chain 12. And once you've chained 12, you are going to skip 16 of these stitches before continuing on with your next set of double crochets. So here's what that looks like. You're going to come up here, and our last double crochet was here. We're going to skip 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16. So this right here is going to be the last one that we skip. I'm going to go ahead and put a double crochet here. Okay, and what we have now is we have the beginning of our first sleeve. This is going to be the underarm area, and this is the armhole. Okay, now to go across the front of the sweater, which is here, we need to double crochet 33, and that includes this one that I did to just get us started. So I'm going to double crochet 32 more. All right, now that we're past that, we're once again going to chain 12 and then skip 16. All right, there's our 12. Now let's skip 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And again, I went ahead and gave us our first double crochet here. Let's lay it flat, and now we're going to cover the rest of the back. 1, 15, 16. Okay, so we need 17 stitches along the back. So it looks like for me, I'm going to be putting that one kind of close right here, but that's okay. We need 17 stitches at the back to finish this round. I've already started one, so I'm going to crochet 16 more and then finish this round with a slip stitch, and then we will be ready for our next phase. All right, and there we have it. We have now made enough space for our arms. We have added the correct number. Now what we're going to do is for the rest of our body, until we get down to the bottom for the ribbing, all of our rounds are going to be chaining 2, double crocheting in every stitch, and then slip stitching to end the round. And when we get to these chain stitches here, all I'm going to do is simply do a double crochet in each chain. So the total stitch count for each row will be included in your pattern, and we're simply going to go around and around until we get to the right length. Okay, here's where we've gotten to. We're doing 10 rows in this size, so we're going to end up with kind of a cropped length for the sweater. And after these 10 rows of double crochet, now we've finally gotten to the bottom ribbing. So we're still working at the back, center back, for starting each row. And here is how we're going to do the ribbing. We're going to start this row by chaining 2. And then we're going to use front post and back post double crochet stitches to create our ribbing. So around this stitch now, I'm going to do a back post double crochet, just meaning I go behind the post, or excuse me, front post. That's a front post. So we'll start with a front post, and then I'm going to do a back post. So that means I go behind the work and bring it around the post here to do a double crochet this way. Okay, so let me explain that a little bit better this time. I'm going to start a double crochet, and I'm going to come at the front of the work and go around the post here to create what's called a front post double crochet. And then I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to go behind the work here. Okay, and doing this, you can already see it start to create a very ribbing effect. So this first row is going to alternate front post, back post, front post, back post, double crochet all the way around, and I will continue for a little bit here, do a few more repeats, and then I'll be back to show you what it looks like when we finish this round. Okay, so now we are back around to the beginning of this round. I'm going to do the last few front post and back post stitches. So this is a front post, back post, front post, back post, and it works out very nicely. So we're going to slip stitch to close this round. And as you'll see, these front post and back post stitches kind of pull on the row before. So it looks like we already have 2 rows of ribbing here. We're going to go ahead and continue with two more rows of the ribbing, of actually crocheting the ribbing. So it will end up looking like we have 3 to 4. And to start it, you chain 2 again, and we're going to do the same pattern. So where there's a front post stitch, we're going to front post stitch again and continue all the way around. Again, we're going to continue this for 2 more rounds and then slip stitch, and then we will be done with the bottom of the body. Okay, here is the ribbing on the bottom of the sweater once it's all done. And now that this is completed, we're going to do the same thing up around the neckline here, except that for this neckline, it's already rather high. And so we're going to add 1 really good round of ribbing. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we did for the bottom, except since we don't already have our yarn attached here, we're going to need to add it in. So I'm going to come in around the back here and use a slip knot to attach my yarn, and I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm gonna do front post and back post stitches around these double crochet stitches. They are upside down from this point of view, but it doesn't make any difference. I'm gonna go in just like we did at the bottom from this point and do front and back. Since we are only doing 1 round of ribbing, I would encourage you to kind of err on the tight side. Don't make it so tight that you're not going to be able to get it over your head, but definitely don't be too loosey-goosey with this round, since it's going to provide a little bit more shaping around the top of the sweater. And because of how these interact, as we saw last time, it's going to almost make it look like you have 2 rows of ribbing here. So go ahead and continue this around the entire neckline, and then just slip stitch to close, bind off, and you can go ahead and weave in these ends if you want when you're done. Neckline ribbing looks like when it's all done. This is going to make it lie against the bottom of the neck a lot better, and also it gives it a finished look. Now moving right along, we're going to move into the sleeves. Now, got a little surprise. I've already done the first sleeve. So this is what the sleeve looks like from where we started at the arm opening down to more ribbing at the end of the sleeve. Now you'll see I've got some stitch markers in the sleeve. This is a good place to use stitch markers if you want to keep track of what row you're on in the pattern, or possibly where you're doing increases or anything like that. This is a good place to maybe use stitch markers. So let's walk through how we do a sleeve at our other arm opening. And as I'm getting this ready, adding it with a slip knot, I'm going to go ahead and give away our stitches here. So if you'll recall, for this size of the pattern, we skipped 16 stitches and we chained 12. Okay, so we've already got 28 stitches between this side and this side of the arm opening. And what we're going to do is we're going to add on and crochet all around this opening, and we're also going to add 2 more stitches at each corner. So where these 2 pieces come together, and you see the side is made up of the double crochet stitch. I think this was the transition row or the one right after that. Right around that time, this became part of our opening as the side of the double crochet. So when we get to these corners, as you're going around this opening, we're going to add 2 here, and you can space them however you want to make it look the most even and not give you a big hole. You can put them both into the double crochet right just the way it is, or you can put one in it and one can go kind of to the side. I believe that's how I ended up doing it. However you want to do it, I'm going to show you right now. And I'm just going to go ahead and start here where it's going to be under the arm. And so right here, adding in our yarn, we start with a chain 2. And then just go ahead and add 1 double crochet into every stitch along this way. Moving right along, making sure you're doing 1 for each stitch, even though these are, from your perspective and from my perspective, they are now upside down on this side. We're going to do a 1-to-1, normal double crochets, and it really doesn't matter where you start as long as you remember these corners. So now I'm at the corners. I've done one here, and my next stitch that I need to do one for is here. So I'm going to add 2. I'm going to go ahead and add one in this little hole. I might even reach down a little bit further to kind of reinforce this. You can use your discernment here, and I'll add the other one right here as well, okay? So just adding 2, and now moving right along. Now I'm going to add 1 for each stitch around the other side of the arm opening. And now I'm in the home stretch of adding these on. So let's go 1 in every stitch again here at the bottom. Okay. And when you get all the way back around, we are simply going to slip stitch to close the round. And your total stitch count here should be 32 now, because we had 16, we had 12, and then we added another 4. Now for the next 8 rounds, you are simply going to chain 2, double crochet around the entire arm opening here, and then slip stitch to close the round. So take 8 rows to just double crochet at the size we have now, and then we'll be back for our first decreasing row of the sleeve. Alrighty, we are back for our second decreasing round. You can see the first one was right here. We've done our 5 rounds after that. And this decreasing round is going to be a little bit more dramatic. I've already done my chain 2, and I'm going to start again with the decrease. So turning 2 double crochet stitches into 1 stitch, like so. And then you're just going to double crochet 2. Okay, so we've got a pretty small repeat here. We're going to decrease by a lot more stitches this time. And when you're done, you will have the size of sleeve opening that we're going to use for the rest of the sleeve. So I'm just going to finish this repeat really quick. Okay, and for you, you're going to finish this round, of course, slip stitch, and then do 5 more rounds at this size. And then to finish off the sleeve, you're simply going to be doing front and back post stitches, just like I've already shown you for this sleeve, and that we've already demonstrated with the bottom of the sweater and the neckline. So from this point on, you should pretty much be good to go, following those exact numbers or following the numbers for your own size of the full pattern based on whichever size you're doing. So I'll leave you to it, and I will see you back when our sweaters are all done. Okay, so our sweater's actually done, but we're gonna go in now and add the optional ruffle that you can put around the shoulders. So here's the neckline, and we're gonna go down the shoulders a little bit and create a strong foundation before we get started on this ruffle. Now I wanna preface this by saying that you can change exactly where you put your ruffle, but it's going to affect how many yards you need to make it. So for this size, we are gonna put the ruffle 8 rounds down on the sweater. And that's not including the 1 round we have here. So we have the one under it that kind of ended up looking like it was ribbed. And then, so the first one's up here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so I'm gonna put my ruffle right along the 8th round. And to do that, we are going to just do a normal ruffle, but we're gonna start by making a really strong foundation, as I said. So how do we do that? Well, I need the yarn to go inside of the sweater, and I'm gonna find the end, but before I pull it through, I'm gonna make a little slip knot. So just make a little slip knot right there, and I'm going to pull it through. Okay, so from here, we're going to surface crochet right around, and hopefully you can see really clearly, this is round 8. We're going to surface crochet right across it. You can go at the bottom or at the top of it if you want to. I'm choosing to go right down the middle of this round. And to surface crochet, I'm going to reach into the sweater. I'm kind of feeling with my other hand in here to help me. I'm pulling a loop through and I'm doing a slip stitch. Okay, so I'm gonna probably just slip stitch one time for each double crochet and just go over them the way that you see me doing here. Probably just going to do that all the way around, and that's really all there is to it. But what this does is it gives you this base that we're going to crochet our ruffle on in the next step that allows it to sit on top of these slip stitches, and it's not going to pull off of our main sweater as much as if we didn't have it. So just continue doing this surface crochet all the way around, and then when you're done, kind of connect it with a normal slip stitch or connect your last, you know, surface crochet slip stitch, and then just bind off and tuck that other end in, and then we'll be back for the next step. We're back, and if you can see, we have an unbroken line of what looks like chain stitches going around. That's our surface crochet, and it's the same color, so it might be a little difficult to see, but it goes all the way around. So now that we have that, we're going to go in and do our ruffle right on top of that. So I'm going to turn my sweater around. I think that's a little bit easier. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to get our end of yarn ready, and we're going to go into one of our surface crochet stitches. We're going to go under both loops here, and I'm going to start with a slip knot and pull that through, and that's going to be how we get it started. Okay, chain 2, and now we are going to put 3 double crochet stitches into every single one of these surface crochet stitches. We're going to put 3 stitches into every single one of these surface crochet stitches. So I'm only going to start with 2. I'm going to kind of count my chain as 1 for these purposes, so it doesn't get too crowded right here at the beginning. But for all the other ones, simply double crochet 3 into every single stitch. And it's not going to look like a ruffle as you just get started, but as you keep adding more and more with this many in each stitch, it's going to look like a teensy tiny little ruffle. So I'm going to finish this first row and then come back for our final step to this. Here we are. Here is what the sweater looks like with one round done of the ruffle, with 3 double crochets into each of our foundation stitches, and it looks super cute. And I'm going to keep going with the ruffle. Theoretically, you could leave it just like this, but I think I'm going to be doing 2 to 4 more rounds, and so you'll get to see exactly what that looks like. Here is where we started, and I'm going to simply chain 2. And this is pretty straightforward. Now we're just going to go around these rounds, putting 1 double crochet stitch into each stitch of the ruffle. You're not increasing anymore, because as you make the ruffle wider, you're just going to enhance what we've already done. And for myself, I'm hoping that this starts to weigh the ruffle down pretty quickly, so that instead of sticking straight out, it will lay down a little bit more. So that's what we're doing. Do as many rounds as you'd like, but I'll be back to show you the number of rounds that we officially settle on for this size.